Welcome to EduCasts, home of EduCasters. The instructional principles: minimizing waste, maximizing learning. The genius of cognitive load theory lies in its direct translation into a powerful set of instructional design principles. These principles are proven methods to manage the balance between the three types of load. 1. Principles for minimizing extraneous load, ECL. These principles primarily focus on reducing the mental effort wasted on dealing with suboptimal presentation formats. The split attention principle. As mentioned, split attention occurs when the text and the corresponding visual information, like a diagram, chart, or map, are physically separated. The learner wastes time and effort continuously scanning back and forth and holding the separate elements in memory to compare them. The fix: physically integrate the related text and visual information. Instead of having a label key below a diagram, place the text labels directly on or immediately adjacent to the relevant parts of the diagram. For example, when teaching the steps of a science experiment, put the explanatory text right next to the corresponding image of the setup, not 2 pages later. The educator's take: stop making students hunt for information. When designing slides or handouts, ask yourself, can I place these 2 related pieces of information side by side or on top of one another? The redundancy principle. Less is often more when it comes to instruction. The redundancy principle dictates that including information that is unnecessary to the learning goal, even if the information is accurate, can actually hurt learning. This is particularly true when it comes to presenting the same information via multiple sources when one is sufficient. The classic mistake: a screen displays complex text explaining a process, and a voiceover reads the exact same text. The student must now process both the visual text and the auditory text. The auditory information is redundant, and the student's working memory expends effort reconciling or suppressing one of the channels. The fix: avoid redundant information. If you have a complex graphic and a detailed narration, do not add on-screen text that simply repeats the narration. Let the graphic and the narration work together, each providing unique, complementary information. A coherence principle, sometimes called the seductive details effect. The coherence principle states that we should avoid adding interesting but irrelevant material. The mistake: including fun but educationally irrelevant facts, stories, or decorative images in a lesson. While instructors often use these seductive details to increase motivation, the cognitive research shows they act as distractors, consuming working memory capacity, ECL, without contributing to schema formation, GCL. The fix: keep the instruction focused and lean. Every element on the slide or page must serve a direct purpose in helping the student build the target schema. If it doesn't, cut it. 2. Principles for managing load based on expertise. The single most important nuance in CLT is the understanding that effective instructional design is not one-size-fits-all. What works perfectly for a beginner can utterly fail for an expert. This concept is captured in the powerful expertise reversal effect. The worked example principle: novices. For students who are brand new to a complex topic, high ICL, attempting to solve problems immediately places an overwhelming amount of extraneous load on working memory. They are forced to engage in means-ends analysis, repeatedly searching for a solution path by comparing the current state to the goal state. This is an inefficient mental process that takes up massive WM resources. The fix for novices: provide worked examples. A worked example is a problem that is fully solved, showing the steps from the initial problem state to the final solution. The student's task shifts from generating a solution path, high ECL, to studying the presented solution path, low ECL, high GCL. This guided study frees up working memory to focus solely on schema construction. The expertise reversal effect, experts. The expertise reversal effect is the natural corollary to the worked example principle. Once a student has acquired the necessary schemas and is moving toward expert status, the worked example becomes an instructional liability. The problem for experts: when an expert studies a worked example, the detailed steps are redundant because they already have the solution schema stored in LTM. the expert now wastes cognitive effort processing the unnecessary steps. The worked example, originally an ECL reducer, becomes an ECL inducer. The fix for experts: transition from worked examples to conventional problem solving, or completion problems. Once the schema is robust, the challenge of solving a problem allows the expert to refine and automate the schema, high GCL. They should be given the space to apply their hard-earned knowledge. The modality principle and dual-channel processing. While many CLT principles focus on managing load within the visual working memory channel, the modality principle recognizes that we have two relatively independent channels for processing information: one visual pictorial and one auditory verbal. This draws heavily on Paivio's dual coding theory and Mayer's cognitive theory of multimedia learning. The modality principle. The visual channel handles images, diagrams, animations, and on-screen text. The auditory channel handles spoken words, sounds, and narration. Both channels have their own separate capacity limitations. The instructional opportunity. The modality principle suggests that we can reduce the load on the highly constrained visual channel by shifting some of the verbal information to the auditory channel. The fix. Present complex visuals, like a detailed animation or a flowchart, with corresponding narration rather than on-screen text. Reading on-screen text and simultaneously processing a diagram both clog the visual channel. By moving the verbal explanation to narration, the auditory channel, we effectively split the load across the two channels, thus reducing the total load on working memory and dramatically improving comprehension. For example, when teaching the steps of photosynthesis, show the leaf structure, visual, and narrate the process of CO2 and water intake, auditory, rather than showing the visual and making the student read a large block of text. This is a masterclass in cognitive efficiency.